Hey guys, welcome to my pantry. I get asked all the time where I buy my stuff, and the answer is I buy everything in bulk. In Canada here, it's called Bulk Barn. If you're in the States, probably Whole Foods, something like that. But I buy everything in bulk, and then I go to the dollar store and I just get a bunch of glass containers. And then so I make sure to always have a little bit of everything on hand all the time. And of course, most of this stuff is stuff that lasts a really long time. And there's certain ingredients that I keep in the freezer as well, just a little bit of portion. So like hemp seeds, flax seeds, ground, of course, just a little bit of ground at a time. The rest you keep whole in a container. And then chia seeds, so that's what I keep in a freezer along with the nutritional yeast. But to take you in my pantry, I thought I would show you a little bit what it looks like. So on top I have all my cookbooks, which I shared with you guys the other day. And of course, I always have some coconut oil on hand. That is one of the things that I use the most in my cooking. I use it for bars, I use it for just regular cooking, I use it for even making burgers, all sorts of stuff. And then of course, regular almonds. This is a snack that I got when I went to Dallas that I was keeping around in my hands at all times so that I would not go hungry, because that's the worst thing you can do. That's when you tend to snack on crappy foods and stuff that's not good. My hemp seeds I actually buy through Canada Hemp Foods. You can buy like a huge 10-liter bag for about $89, which is pretty cheap considering if you go to Bulk Barn, a small bag is like $45. These are really cool red lentil pasta, super high in protein. I think it's like 24 grams of protein for 1 cup. That like way beats any other type of pasta. And they actually are pretty tasty, and I often just add them to soups to add extra nutrition and protein. For the peanut butters, this is the type that I use. I get it at Walmart, and we absolutely love it. And then I have this one for my son as well. That's kind of like a Nutella. It's dairy free, so that is like his cheat that he gets once in a while. So these are the big containers that I was talking about. So I just did a huge shopping spree at Dollarama and got a bunch of containers. So I have my chia seeds, I have my hemp seeds. This is a smaller portion that I have separate from the bag. And then in the back I have my whole flax seeds. So these ones you leave whole until you are actually almost ready to consume, because they lose their oils very quickly. So I just ground about 1 cup at a time. I throw it in my Vitamix. Make sure your Vitamix or your blender is dry, and then you blend it up. It turns into a powder, and I keep that small amount directly in my freezer. And then besides, I have my sunflower seeds. So this I always have a lot of hand. Super nutritious and good for you. I add them in salads and nachos. I make burgers with them, all sorts of stuff. They are awesome. Same thing with the pepitas or pumpkin seeds. When you get these seeds, always make sure to get as raw as possible. Not roasted, not salted, not nothing like that. Just buy it raw. And you'll get a lot of, like, these are super high in iron, super good for you, especially if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, stuff like that. They are amazing. And often recipes will call for just sunflower seeds or just pumpkin seeds. I actually always will divide the amount that they require and then divide it between the two. And then of course sesame seeds. Now, sesame seeds are also super good for you. Throw them in your salad, nachos, burgers, same thing, whatever. You can just add it pretty much and sprinkle it on anything and it will taste good. And of course, I ground mine and then turned it into a tahini. Now, it's not as liquid as it is when you buy it in a store, but it does the same thing. And if you mix it with like boiling water, it'll become creamy like in the store, or even just add extra oil. Now, Brazilian nuts, those if you eat 3 a day, it brings like huge benefits to your health. They are a little pricier, so I just buy a little bit at a time, and then I kind of snack on them once in a while. And then just regular lentils. I have all sorts of like lentils, and I'm gonna go through them, but in the back there's some red splits that you can't really see. And then walnuts super good for you. And my favorite burger is actually a nutty burger from Drina Burton that I published the other day. And so I always have a lot of these on hand so that I can make, they're good to just eat like that with an apple or throw into burgers and stuff like that. And then roasted almonds. I wish I had more light in here, but roasted almonds is what I use to make my almond butter. And that you literally just take it, you throw it in the Vitamix for a few minutes, and it turns into an amazing, amazing almond butter. Super simple. You don't even need to add any oils or anything like that. It just, the heat from the motor and the nut, the oil from the nut just break down and it turns into amazing almond butter. Cashews is what I use probably the most. I make cheese with it. I make a lot of different yogurts. I make different milks. There's so many different options you can do with cashews. It's super creamy, it becomes super thick, and it's amazing for recipes. Now here I always have a bunch of lentils on hand because I love to make lentil soups and lentil burgers. So here I have green, I have brown, I have red. I had white, but I looked up the different nutrients, and actually the red lentils are the ones that have the most nutrients. So I kind of just use that one the most. And then of course pine nuts, but pine nuts are super expensive here. But there is one recipe that I use that's from Chloe, and it's an avocado and pine nut cream pasta kind of thing. And so I always have some on hand. It's one of my hubby's favorite recipes, so when he's in a mood for it, I always make sure to have some on hand so I can make it for him. In this section, I have like a little bit more carbs. So I have camu, which is kind of like an oatmeal, just a different type. Steel cut oats, same thing. So these I often will ground and ground into powder, and I'll add them to my smoothies. I'll add them to some yogurts for the kids and stuff like that. So they're actually super nutritious. Sometimes I'll make some steel cut oats with berries and stuff, but most of the time I'll just throw 1 or 2 tablespoons of either one of these into a smoothie, especially if I'm about to do a long run, and it really gives me that extra drive that I need. Wild rice I do once in a while, not too long. As you can see, it's a smaller container, but I like to have it on hand. And then you can see I leave the description inside on how to make them, or you can just Google it. Of course, it takes 2 seconds. Quinoa is another huge staple in my house. I have it often either for breakfast, like quinoa and berry with maple syrup and dried cranberries and nuts and all sorts of stuff. Or I use it, and when I make it, I always make it in my rice cooker, and I always do vegetable broth instead of water, so it gives it a little bit more of that just a little bit of a taste to it. And so I use that often to make burgers. I use it in salads. I use it in wraps. I use it in pretty much everything, even nachos I've thrown into. And then of course the large oat flakes. Now this is amazing on its own. Same thing as the camu and the steel cut oats. I will throw a couple of tablespoons in my smoothies just to give me that extra drive, especially if I have big workouts or races coming up. It's awesome. Down here I have a bunch of oils. This is where I kind of keep them. So balsamic is good, red wine vinegar, of course, always lots of hot sauce. I have different types of like nut oils. So hazelnut, I have almond right behind. I have avocado oil as well, but it's already packed. Walnut oil. I always have little oils like that, but I kind of keep them in a corner. They keep good for a really long time. Shoyu is a type of soya sauce, and then I use this is from Rich Roll when I make my mushroom gravy. This is the one that I use in it because that's the one he recommends, and I love him, so I'll follow whatever he has to say. And then of course sesame oil. This is another really good one for specific recipes that ask for that sesame taste kind of thing. And then, oh my God, this is like the best thing, and I think everybody and anybody needs to have a bottle of this. So you can use this instead of soya sauce in pretty much everything and anything. And people laugh at me because every time I go for sushi, I actually bring some of this in my purse. So you guys know that there's like over 1,000 milligrams of sodium in regular soy sauce. Well, this one has 160 milligrams. Compared to like the thousands that regular soy sauce has, and it has an even better taste to it. Now you can get this, for us, you can get it pretty much anywhere. So So of course, Bulk Barn will have it. You can buy it at any natural food stores. You can buy it, for us, it's called Independent. There's always a natural food section, so you can get it there. It is really good and I highly recommend. So any soya sauce, you can put it with rice. I sometimes just put that over my quinoa. It's amazing. Now, apple cider vinegar, another very good one to have. A lot of health benefits to it. You can make a lot of salad dressings. Some people even recommend having 1 tablespoon in a big glass of water first thing in the morning to alkalinize your body. So that is another really good one to have. It just doesn't taste that good on its own like that. But for sure, making like a bean salad, the apple cider vinegar taste to it is very, very good. Frank's hot sauce, of course, that's like my best friend. I have it in everything and anything. So I actually have like a huge gallon below. I don't know if you can see it. And then I usually just fill it up once it empties. Maple syrup, I use that instead of sugar in a lot of my recipes. So even if sometimes I find muffin recipes or pancake recipes that put sugar in it, I actually will replace the amount by syrup. Dark chocolate bits, I always have some on hand, especially for when I make energy bars and anything like that. They are really awesome to have. Tamari, which goes with the soya sauce section. And then I always have different bean medleys on hand. This one has maple syrup, of course, for when we want to indulge. But I usually always have a bunch of different beans on hand, chickpeas as well, tomato paste, stuff like that, because those are things that I'll often use in a recipe that I can't use myself. When they call for crushed tomatoes, I actually will always use whole tomatoes that I wash really well. And then I actually throw it in a blender and chop up into like chunks. And that is always what I use as my crushed tomato. So there's no salts, no preservatives, no additives and stuff like that. So ground ginger, of course, spelt flour. You can use spelt flour instead of any other flour. Actually, this one is just a lot healthier to use, and it does have a good taste to it. So usually I always put that in all my baking. And this one, the name is written off, but is maca powder. Maca powder is super good for your brain. If you look it up, it comes from the maca root. I believe it's in Peru, and it's super, super, super good for your mental health and stuff like that. So if you're a person that struggle with depression and stuff like that, adding a good tablespoon or even in your muffins and stuff like that, you can replace some of the powders by some of this, and it'll really give you like that good mental health kind of clarity. It's pretty good. So down here I have all the extras that I keep, and then I just fill up as needed, and then a bunch of different types of flours, chickpea flour, extra peppers, regular stuff like that everybody has. And then of course I have my Shakeologies here. I always have tropical strawberry and chocolate on hand, and often when I do some of my baking, I will use some of those in my baking. So for pancakes, muffins, cakes, stuff like that, I'll replace some of the flour by that. And then of course always have extra almond milk and stuff. So that's it. You guys have enjoyed it, and that it gave you a little bit more of a perspective. I wish I could like take one big picture and just send it to you guys, but that is usually what I keep on hand in my pantry. And now I need to go attend to my baby that just woke up. Have an amazing day.